question has been raised so often. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's not new. It's a question that's been asked for generation after generation. It's a simple concept. Why does bad things happen to good people? Anyone of you know the answer to that? Good evening.
Good evening.
Like, welcome y'all to the PM worship service for the North Lakeland Church of Christ. Those that are tuning in on Facebook, we're doing a series of lessons this month, and some reasons to have hope. Some reasons to have hope. We looked at something 2 weeks ago, and today we started looking at the trials of life. As we go through the tests and the trials of life, we have a goal for this year, and it's finishing the race. And everything we do from January 1 to December the 31st of 2025 is to point us in that direction, because we are in a race. We're not in a corruptible race. We're not trying to win a prize. We're trying to inherit eternal life and make sure that we understand it's a race and all of the ingredients of a race. The Bible used that terminology so many times. The discipline that it takes, the attention that it takes, and the trust that it takes to get in the race, which is becoming a member of the Church of Christ, and then to fight, which is the good fight of faith, and to endure hardships as a good soldier of the cross, all of those ingredients. And then we're focusing, as we start this second half of the year, that trial of trying to understand why things happen to us. Remember, everything we do is a coordinated effort. There's no sermons or nothing that we do. The classes that we do are all for a purpose, and it's to help us be what God wants us to be, because it's going to take that in order for us to spend eternity in heaven. It's not going to take our human ingenuity. No, it's going to take war. So this evening, I want Richard to go back over James chapter 1. We're going to read verse 2 to 4, and we're going to use one illustration, and we'll make 3 sub-points from that, and the lesson be yours this evening. We'll make it much shorter, but we are really looking at the trials of life. There is no one in this world that's exempt from the trials, from the tests of life. And we try to point out, James made it very clear, there are temptations that come because of our lust, because of our desire, that leads us to sin, and the devil is the architecture of that, trying to get us to fall. But there are tests in our life that will always be in place that we cannot avoid, where God is trying to equip us to help us be who we want to be. And what we learn in all of those instances, we always think that we're someplace we're not. James gives us a lot of illustrations. Say, like a man look at his face in the mirror, straightway forget what manner of person he is. We do that. We look at ourselves and say, we got it figured out, and then we go right out and fall. Why does that happen? James said, you haven't did a close inspection. Paul said, let a man examine himself. 2 Corinthians 13:5, to see whether he's in their faith or not. How know you in their faith unless you be what? Reprobate. God said, I've given you everything that you need to examine yourself. And the tests that we go through in life, the trials that God intended for us to go through, is because God sees something that we don't see. Sometimes it's as simple that God sees that we are looking at the speck, the smallest particle in somebody's eyes to see what's wrong with them, and we got a log, a beam in our eye. Sometimes the trial is just that simple, because we can't see. We can see everything wrong with everybody else and nothing wrong with who? Ourselves. Sometimes God is just moving us because of that. It's not a complicated thing as we look and study and see the Bible. Humanity problem is sin. We know that. But even when God starts working with us, we just sometimes are so narrow-minded. Look at James chapter 1, verse 2 to 4. Let's get over there, Richard. Let's read so we'll make a point. Count it all joy. Count it pure joy. What is that? That's asinine. That's ridiculous. That's counterintuitive. How am I to be happy when I'm going through stuff? That is the lesson. When I'm going through the trials of life, how am I to be happy? We pointed it out this morning. We'll do it at the conclusion of this lesson. Read, Richard.
My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations.
When you are tested, when you go through the trials of life, count it all joy. That's not a suggestion. That's not God saying, I want you to think about whether or not you really want to do that. God says, count it all joy. Just like the Philippians letter say, rejoice in the Lord. Paul said, again, I say what? Rejoice. I want to tell you, Paul gives us some hint in Philippians 4. One of the brilliant favorite things, he said, I've learned that no matter what state I'm in, I know how to be full. I know how to be this. I know how to be that. Paul said, whatever state, whatever the conditions are, whatever the test, whatever the trial, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, he said, I've learned to be what? Content, that word just means happy. That's exactly what James says. So first thing we learn is that we got to do what? We got to learn. I'm thinking about there's some things we got to learn. No, we don't have it. No, we don't have it figured out. And the closest thing to falling is thinking you got it. Count it all joy, pure joy. Why, Richard? Continue reading.
Knowing this,
There's something that you should know. There's some things you need to know that what?
that the trying of your faith worketh patience.
Because God is trying to produce patience. Brothers and sisters, friends, maybe on Facebook, if I can get you to understand, we are not patient. Patient don't mean what we think. Patient don't just mean waiting. We have this Webster definition of patience. Patience don't just mean, okay, well, I'm not going to get a hurry. That's not biblical patience. Patience is endurance. Patience is perseverance. Patience is steadfastness. Patience is not just saying, okay, I'm quick-tempered, so I'm not going to be quick-tempered. That's not what God has in mind. God has in mind the patience that the Bible is talking about is that you going through things, and as you go through them, you're steady as you go. Patience looked like when Peter got ready to walk into the Lord, and he was walking, he was doing good. He was actually out on the water, and all of a sudden the water got a little rough, and what did he do? Some people say take his eyes off of Jesus. He didn't need to have his eyes on Jesus. He got faint-hearted. See, we take the Bible and we don't rightly divide it. You think it mattered whether you're looking at Jesus or not? No, of course not. It didn't matter what he had his eyes on Jesus. I hear preachers in the Church of Christ, well, he took his eyes off the Lord. What does that have to do with this? His faith. We need to learn this. His faith wavered. Why did it waver? Because when things was going good, he just walked in there. But when the waters got rough, I don't know about this now. It wasn't that he didn't look at Jesus. It was that when the storms of life, when the trials of life come to us, we start what? Wondering. We start, what's going on? Oh, ye of little faith. Yeah, it's good when we're here talking. It's good while we're sitting listening to the sermon. But when we walk out the door and somebody rams their car past us, when we go to the store to shop, that's where our faith comes in. When somebody calls you a name that you weren't expecting. When you didn't get that raise on the job that you know you deserve. There's no question. You've got everything laid out. You've got all of the credentials. You should have got it. And no one is saying that you shouldn't have got it, but you didn't. Do you remember what Paul said to Colossae? Not as men pleasers worrying about God. That same thing Peter says. But everything we do is unto the Lord. And the Lord who seeth, he'll do what? He'll handle it. All of the verses that we read in the Bible mean nothing until we go out there and live it. Because the storms of life are going to be there. Richard just read, knowing this, know this, that God is trying to produce what? Patience. Endurance. Hang in there. You won't be able to figure it out. You won't know it. You don't know why your children doing this. You don't know why people are looking at you and speaking a certain way. Every one of us is going to be in that sense. This is probably one of the most serious lessons I've done. And I need to spend weeks and weeks on it, but I'm going to wrap it up now. We got to get there. Don't blame anyone else. Don't say this and that. If we're going to make heaven, this is something that's going to be required, how we handle these trials of life. Proverbs 4:23 say, from the abundance of the heart are the issues of life. You want to know what life is? Don't go to Webster. Don't go to anybody. You want to know what life is? Listen to God. Out of the heart are the issues of life. What is life is one issue after another. And it's not the issue that affects us. It's how we respond to it. It is never what's going on in our life, even though we think it's always, it's how we respond, because God tells us how to respond in every situation. There's nothing that we'll ever encounter in this world that God hadn't said to his people, this is where I want you to be. This is the way I want you to dress. This is the place I want you to go. This is the way I want you to talk. This is the way I want you to live. This is the way I want you to meditate. This is the way I want you to pray to me. This is the way I want you to treat others. When somebody slap you, this is what I want you to do. When things are going good, this is what it's everything in life. It's when everything is going great, what do we do? Do we put God first in everything? We're going to look at one illustration. Rich, I want you to get up in Genesis chapter 37. I'm going to make this quick. Is there any one of us, and those that are listening, that would have said, you know that you would be where you are now? I want you to listen to me carefully this evening. I don't believe that there's a person in the world that could back up to when they were born, and if they lived any time at all, even past the age of 15, would have said, this is where I thought I would be. Let me say that slow. I don't believe there's a person in the world that can honestly do that. Ask yourself, however old you are, 50, 60, 70, whatever, did you think you would be where you are right now?
Nope.
If you're honest, the answer is going to be no. Because if you were married and you divorced, when you got married, you expected to be married for what? Life. I'm going to help you in case you're there. If you had a job and you got that job and you were doing good, you expect to be on that job for what?
Retirement.
Because there would be no reason to leave if they treat you right and pay you right. Can I help you? Whatever it is that you did because you believed that that was the right thing to do and you expected that to go on. You know you was going to grow older. You know you was going to not be able to do what you did, but you expected life to be. None of us expected to be life where it is now. I have a degree in accounting. Did you catch that? I've never been a CPA, but that's what my training. I did a lot of other stuff. Because God was doing what in my past directed it. Genesis chapter 37. And I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do this in advance. Janae, I actually want you to get up in 10 minutes because I'm going to bring my lesson together in 10 minutes. So when she stands up, y'all know what she's doing. That's her signaling to me. I'm just putting it out there on Facebook. That's her signaling to me. I want you to see a young man by the name of Joseph. Because what I want you to see that life is more than a match. And the trials that we went through life, no one could imagine. Genesis chapter 37. Richard, I'm going to have you pick up, read verse 2. I'm going to have him read a couple of verses, and y'all know what's going to happen at the end, right? I'm going to jump in and I'm going to fly. But I just want to introduce you. I want you to see the trials of life, and I want you to see the things that he went through, just like we look at Job this morning. And none of us could know where and how God allowing us to go through the things we go through. Genesis chapter 37, begin reading verse 2.
These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah.
Joseph was 17 at that time, and he's doing what? Feeding the flock. And then 13 years later, he's going to be 30 years old, and he's going to be in Pharaoh's palace, and there's going to be nobody greater than Joseph. Hello? 13 years later. 13 years later, Joseph's going to be 30. Right now, Joseph's feeding the flock. Read, Richard.
And with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report.
And Joseph is telling on his brothers. He's a little young one. There's going to be one come out there named Benjamin. But he's the youngest right now. And he's telling on his who?
Brothers.
I want you to just see the story. He's telling on his brothers. And Joseph is somebody like me. George knows this. Most of you don't know that. Baby family. I'm very small. Had my way. You don't know that you got that for free. And I have two brothers. One has passed away and one sister. And they may get a copy of the state because they hated my guts. Because I got everything I wanted. You might as well know it. So I can relate to Joseph. Let me say that slow.
Yes, sir.
Everything that I wanted. Oh. Right. You need to see the story. When my mom cooked, she cooked, and everybody ate, and I say, I don't want this. And they all looked at like I'm crazy.
Being hungry, right?
She said, what you want, little John? And she went and fixed me something else. I don't make this up. I'm not going to stand before God. I'm just telling you. So sometimes when you see me and say, oh, boy, he's spoiled. Yeah, that's a reason. They give you the last one, you get it free. When they had that little TV, and they looked at TV, my parents like to look at something. But guess what? Little John liked to look at something. And when they want to turn the TV, I go get in the car and have a fit.
Oh, God.
And my mom would walk in the car. Come on, little John.
Wow.
And flip that station, and everybody was mad. Daddy was mad, the mom was mad, the children mad, and little John was like that. Sometimes you need to know things about people. You say, what in the world? I've told Richard this, I never use illustrations to talk about me. Anytime I use an illustration, it's to tell about the Bible, because that's what Joseph was. Make sure you make the connection. Am I talking about myself? No. Do I want you to know anything about my life? No. I'm embarrassed that you know that. For those on Facebook, because by knowing that, you can see Joseph. Joseph's father made him a coat of many colors, and his brothers did what? They hated him. Yeah. We got to be able to relate. They hated him. Now let me rest fast. Rich, I'll need you reading more. So here's what I want you to follow. The trials of life. What does this have to do with trials of life? Because Joseph's father told him to go check on those boys. I'm talking fast, please bear with me. Joseph went to check on them. They already hated him. Joseph had already told him, I have a dream. The dream that I dreamed that y'all going to pay obeisance to me. Your brother said, what do you mean? We're going to bow down to you? Yeah, you actually are. And his father said, I also saw this in my dream. And the son in the obeisance, that's his father and mother. His father and mother said, what? You out of your mind? We're going to bow down to you? But his father kept note of it. That simply means he kept it in his mind. Maybe he wasn't as crazy as everybody think he is. But when Joseph went to those boys and they heard him call the Pharaoh, they had a plan together, a plot together. They were going to kill him. I want you to see the trials of life. And Reuben came to him and said, let's not quite do that. Let's go dig a pit and put him in there. And they dug a pit and put him in, but Reuben's plan was to come back and do what? To get him at some point in time. But he got in that pit, and as life worked, they never come back to get him. Why? Because before they can come back and get him, there's some other group named coming by the Israelites. They came, and then they ended up selling Joseph. The trials of life. Joseph done went from his father's favorite son to his brothers want to kill him, and now he's in a pit, and now somebody strange, the Israelites come and they purchased him. His brothers literally sold him, and they taken him back to Egypt. I need you to see the trials of life. And when Joseph get there, can you imagine being 17 years old and you don't have your family protection and you're in a strange country? The trials of life. Joseph, what is he going to do? And Joseph went there, and then Joseph went into Potiphar's home, and he found favor because Potiphar, everything that Joseph touched was what? It went good. Mm-hmm. The man became successful. I'm trying to show you. But did Joseph cry? Oh, my brothers are going to kill me. Oh, the trials of life. Life is going to change, and we're not going to be able to avoid that. God was at work. I'm going to show you that at the end of the story. And God is at work in our lives when we're going through stuff we didn't understand. I thought I was my father's favorite child. Now I'm over here being going to be killed, and I'm with some strangers that I don't even know. The trials and tests of life counted all joy. God is producing patience. Joseph was learning to be patient. Joseph was learning to wait on God. And when he got to Potiphar's house, he did everything Potiphar said. You can read the chapters that Joseph. From Genesis chapter 37, I'm going all the way to chapter 50, which is the last chapter. He did what Potiphar said. And as a result of that, you hear these words. I want you to listen, because this is what we're going to need to count it all joy. These simple words are going to ring over and over. God was with him. Brothers and sisters, has God changed?
Nope.
Is God living? He said, I'm a God of the living, not of the God of the dead. When we go through the test, when we go through the trials of life, God trying to produce patience, we got to know that God is what? With us. So Joseph went on from there. Everything was going so great in his house and Potiphar's house. And then here come Potiphar's wife. Lie with me. What is God doing? How can we be in a situation like that? So Joseph said, shall I send a girl? God, everything in this house is under me except for you, and you is another man's wife. I need to fast forward because she just got up and I need to represent. So Joseph went from Potiphar's house and she falsely accused him. He ended up going to jail. And when he went to jail, everything Joseph did went what? Hey, I can see us. Oh, why in the world am I in jail? I didn't do nothing wrong. Oh, Lord. You got to go through the tests, not angry. Joseph did nothing wrong to be in prison. He was falsely accused. Then you read these verses again. Y'all should have it like a chorus now. God was what? With him. The baker had a dream, another had a dream. Joseph interpreted the dream. And then here we go. Joseph said, y'all got one got his head cut off, one got brought back in Pharaoh's up there. Joseph said, remember me. Did they remember?
No.
They forgot it. Why is Joseph going through all of these things in his life? And then finally Pharaoh has a dream. Pharaoh has a dream, other people can interpret it. And then finally, I remember when I was back there. They go bring Joseph. Pharaoh asked Joseph to interpret the dream. Joseph said, God interpreted the dream. 17 years and 7 hours. I don't have time to do that. Joseph interpreted the dream. And here's what you do. From that period of time, now we got Joseph and Pharaoh passed, and there's none greater than Pharaoh except who? Joseph. Never knee, about a knee. When Joseph rode in the chariot behind Pharaoh with the signet ring on, everybody had to bow down and go. Brothers and sisters, friends, knowing this, that the trying of your faith, the trials that you go through in life is to produce patience. Joseph went through all of this. It's 13 years that he don't know what he's doing, been moved out of his country, being put in another man's house, being accused by his wife, being put in a jail, and now he's on top of the world. Famine time. Joseph bring his family over. You say, well, what did Joseph learn? How does this patience produce? What Joseph did is what most of us do. Even though God was with Joseph all that time, when Joseph's brothers finally came back, I need to wrap this up real quick. When Joseph's brothers finally came back and he was in contact with them because they had to come over and be provided food, even as the father had resisted 2 times, the father got over there and Joseph see them. Joseph remember what they did. And whether you can catch this or not, I don't have time to explain it. Read Genesis 37:50. Joseph wanted to get a little bit of payback. Had those boys, go get them. They took something that he planted on them. Mm-hmm. See, sometimes we just look at sin. Sometimes in our life we got to feel like I got to get them back. That's what Joseph had, the trying, knowing this, the trying about faith working patience, let patience have a purpose. Joseph was liking something. Joseph, even though God was with him and with him, Joseph still liked the compassion to realize that God was at work. Richard, I want you to read this final passage, and I'm going to put these things together in 2 minutes because I can do it, and I'm going to close it out. Y'all don't think I can. Just listen. Genesis chapter 50, verse 21. I need for us to learn the trials of life. We look at Joseph, just want to look at Joseph. Joseph went them go through all of that misery and had his father hurting, and he know them and they don't know him. Joseph should have revealed himself immediately. How do you know that? Listen to the Bible. He wanted them to go through that because of the way they treated him, and sometimes that's what we are. That God is trying to accomplish something and we don't went through so much and don't know why. Go Genesis chapter 50, verse 21. Read, Richard.
Now therefore fear ye not. I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spake kindly unto them.
I got to verse 20.
But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good.
Freeze. I don't need nothing else. Let me do you a quick 1 minute. Everything that Joseph went through, you want to know what the trial of your faith brings, know that the work in patience like in nothing. What Joseph was understanding is that everything that Joseph went through, they meant it for what?
Evil.
Evil. And God meant it for what?
Good.
Brothers and sisters, I want to leave you with this thought. I told you this morning, when you go through the tests and the trials of life, God is always trying to accomplish what? Good. You take it right from the word of God. Don't ever take anything I said, any man say. I want you to hear the Bible. Whatever your test, whatever is the trial, whatever is the situation, whatever it is you're going through, the up and down, the valley of life, make sure that you understand the Bible. Joseph went through so many things that it would take months for me to break them down and do a microscope and go over with it. But what Joseph learned, just like Job learned not to question God, what Joseph learned and what we got to learn in life It's whatever the trials is, whatever the test is, knowing that the trial of your faith worketh patience, and that you will be complete and mature, your faith will be complete like nothing. Joseph learned that everything that I went through, God meant it for what again? Good. And I want to leave you with this thought. The test is unavoidable. Not the test from the devil. I'm not talking about not the thing that try to make us fail. The test that God is trying to develop us, to try to help us mature, to try to complete, we're going to go through it. But it's not going to have any benefit unless we understand that God means it for what? Good. Because when we understand that, that is the only time, and hear me well in closing, that is the only time that we can count it all what? Joy. The lesson is yours. What does James mean, count it all joy? Is that whatever you and I are going through, that's not a result of sin. That's not a result of what we did wrong. It's because God is moving patience in our life. And patience is endurance, is steadfast and firm. God is getting us where he wants us to be. And don't try to avert it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to circumvent it, because God is accomplishing good. Romans chapter 8, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord, to them that is called, to them that are predestined. God is working it out. And it's going to be pain. It's going to be hurt. But oh, how sweet will be the voice that said, welcome home, thy good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord. I pray that these lessons have helped us so very much, and it just calls us to say, Lord, I want to stand up and acknowledge that I have not did what you want me to do, because I've been trying to avert this test. Sometimes I feel like quitting you, and I've just heard 2 lessons this morning to let me know that I need to turn my life over to you. Thank you, Richard, for singing that song. And I need to learn to let my faith be complete, because the only thing you're doing is trying to help me so that I'm not lacking nothing. May God bless you. May he keep you. If you listen on Facebook, you can become a member of Church of Christ by being baptized in the water grave of baptism. We stand willing and ready to help you. All have a problem. It's called sin. God has fixed it, and God fixed it by sending Jesus. You can fix it by responding by saying, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and will baptize you. You repent. God will add you to this family. That's called the Church of Christ. You'll be a child of God, and we can live faithfully. And when these trials come, because they'll certainly come, we'll get through together, arm in arm. If you've been trying to do it on your own, be honest. Lord, help me. Help me. Help me to turn it over to you. If we can help you in any way, make it known as we gather the saints.